Alright guys, we have a big breaking news coming out. US president is planning to send US troops to Mexico in the latest escalation against the drug gangs. Once again, inside Donald's Title 50 Shadow War, a chilling operation unfolding south of the border that nobody is talking about. We're going to see what's going on here, guys. Before I start, for those of you that want to send us letters, a prayer request, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife, Jessica Santiago, at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida, 34691. It says here the president is planning to send U.S. troops to Mexico in the latest escalation against the gang. The mission is in early stages, but plans would include ground operation inside Mexico. Wow. And drone strike on the gang labs, the facilities, and also the gang leaders. Four sources familiar with the effort told NBC News. So it's not only Venezuela, but Mexico is also on the on that list operation. It says here, if green lit, give me a second here, guys. The plan would exponentially expand on the administration's ongoing military campaign against these gangs, which have so far focused on Venezuela and Colombia, with drone strike against suspected gangs in the Caribbean and the Atlantic. Wow. Buckle up. And there's a reason why you have so many military stuff out there. So far, 64 have been out in the 15th strike that began taking place in early September. The latest was carried out in the Caribbean Sea over the weekend against an undisclosed organization, the T organization, and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announced that 3 were taken out in the strike. Past U.S. administration have quietly deployed military, law enforcement, and intelligence forces to support Mexican police and army units fighting against the gangs. Hold on. Wait a minute. So look at this here, guys. Where is it? So Donald administration had quietly deployed military law enforcement forces to support. Look at this. So even this country police and army unit is going to be joining the U.S. military operation. It says here, but current plans will be more boisterous and will see the U.S. taking direct action against them, maybe even without Mexican operation. It's not clear how many troops will be deployed and what the timeline is for a potential operation. Now, 2 current U.S. officials and 1 former official claim that a deployment to Mexico is not imminent. So right now they're focusing on Venezuela. I think that's the big one. Venezuela is like the big one. Wow, they really sealed the southern region. Under Joe stopped the construction of the barrier in 2021. When he came into the spotlight in January 2021, the first thing he did, he stopped the construction of the barrier in the southern region, letting 20 plus million. Yes, 20 plus million. That's a big number. He let in 20 plus million. Is absolute scary if you kind of think about it. Who does that? Man. So it says here, they also say that the U.S. commander has not ruled out operation without coordination with the Mexican gov, though they say that the commander would prefer to work with the U.S. southern neighbors. Mexican President Claudia said at a news conference in the spring, "We reject any form of intervention or interference." That's been very clear. Mexico coordinates and collaborates, but does not subordinate itself. Now, the Pentagon referred the Daily Mail to the White House when reached about the latest reporting. The White House and Department of Homeland Security did not respond to requests for comment. It says here, while discussions about the scope of the mission are ongoing, it appears if a deployment were to happen, the troops will be coming from Joint Special Operations Command and will operate under the Title 50 status authority of the U.S. intelligence community. All right, so that's their operation, Title 50. You have officer from the CI, who would also participate in the operation. Wow. Okay, so it says here the two current and former officials told NBC that the administration would want to maintain secrecy around its operations and not publicize every action association with the deployment like it has done with a drone strike against the gangs. The State Department in February designated 6 of the gangs. I'm gonna skip the name there, guys. So you got multiple country here gangs. So the action gave authority to U.S. intelligence agencies and military units to conduct covert operations against these lawlessness organizations. So again, Mexico is not top priority, but and it's not imminent. The one that's imminent is Nicholas, the the president of Venezuela. They are more focusing on, they focus on that one more than Mexico. Big shout out to the Coast Guards, everybody out there in the military. I mean, this job here is not easy. You have those gangs, they built a man-made submarine. And inside that man-made submarine, they have their drugs, a product that come into the Sleeping Giant country. It says here the new mission will mostly focus on the use of drone strikes to wipe out the labs, the facility, and take out the gangs, leaders, and members, the sources claim. But some of the drones required for such bombing require operators to be on the ground. Operations against Venezuela are in direct opposition to the Nicholas Gov ruling the country. But the plans for Mexico will not be aimed at undermining their Gov. Now, once again, President Claudia already allowed the CI to expand surveillance flights in Mexico. Also, under her leadership, Mexico deployed 10,000 of its troops to the border to thwart illegal crossing into the Sleeping Giant, increase its drugs seizures, and extradited 55 senior gangs figures. All right, so once again, guys, very important news here. The U.S. Command Administration planning to send U.S. troops to Mexico. Give me a second here. Let's see what's going on with this one here. There's some more updates. This is coming out from Newsweek. The first one was the Daily Mail. This one here is Newsweek, excuse me. So once again, the U.S. Commander-in-Chief Administration is creating detailed plans to send U.S. troops and intelligence officer into Mexico to combat the gang. That's going to be really, really, really bad. I mean, these gangs, they have like very powerful equipment. Very powerful equipment. I mean, we're talking about military stuff. So the U.S. Commander Administration is committed to utilizing an all-of-gov approach to address the warning of the gang posed to American citizens. Now it says here Newsweek reached out to the. All right, we're gonna skip that part. Give me a second here. The report comes after weeks of escalating strike on the ledge of the vessels out of Venezuela and the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean. All right, so we're gonna skip a lot of this stuff here. Yeah, we already know that there were like multiple vessels taken out. Approximately 62 have passed. Hmm. Reports have circulated for months, floating the possibility of U.S. troops getting involved directly in a fight against the gangs in Mexico. Mexico President Claudia has previously rejected the idea. Yeah, because it's just gonna be brutal. It's not gonna be good. The sleeping giant is not going to come to Mexico. The president of Mexico said they're not gonna come to Mexico with a military. We cooperate, we collaborate, but there's is not going to be an invasion. That is ruled out, absolutely ruled out. The White House is reported to be trying. The White House is reported to be trying to avoid military invasion, instead opting to deploy troops as agents and carry out the mission largely in secret using drone strike to hit the labs and the gang members. Once again, both the reported operation and the known strikes on Venezuelan boats came as the U.S. commander has sought to take a tougher stance on the gangs, designating a number of groups as foreign T organization. Follow me with the code words. Now it says here, despite calls for more transparency over recent strikes and concerns about diplomatic relations with Mexico, Venezuela, and other Central and South American nations, the U.S. Commander-in-Chief has been clear that he feels military force is necessary in order to send a strong message to the lawlessness group. As for Mexico, the country is playing its part, with the president ramping up efforts to stop the flow of these products over the border into the sleeping giant, while also allowing the CI flights and surveillance operation to expand within her borders. So it says here what people are saying. Well, it says Secretary of Defense P. Hegseth wrote on X last Wednesday, the Western Hemisphere is no longer a safe haven for these gangs, bringing in their product to our shores to poison sleeping giant citizens. The Department of War will continue to hunt them down and eliminate them wherever they operate. You have Jorge, President of Venezuela National Assembly, previously said during the parliamentary meeting of the Greater Caribbean in Defense of Peace, this is not just a warning to Venezuela, it is a warning to the entire Caribbean and the Americas. An action is being promoted that makes it seem natural to threaten the sovereignty and internal affairs of other nations. So what's next? It remains unclear when such an operation would take place or whether Mexican officials will be informed ahead of time. Well, eventually, guys, something big is going to snap in the Americas, all right? We're talking about more towards like Central and South. Give me a second here. Yeah, so a lot of people's talking about this one here. The U.S. Command Administration has begun detailed planning for a new mission to send American troops and intelligence officers alongside convert elements of CI into Mexico to target the gangs, potentially involving both ground operation and drone strike against suspected of the manufacturing facilities the gang members and leaders. Here's the thing. I don't think that there's going to be a ground operation. I think there's going to be more of a drone strike, and possibly they're going to fire Tomahawk. Who knows? They're just going to send a strong message. They're going to hit them hard. They know where the facility are at. They got MQ-9 Reapers up there in those countries and taking pictures and everything. So they know where the facilities are located. They could just hit them with the drones and everything. They see the operation. They are seeing everything. They're keeping an eye on them. It's just a matter of time. You know, it's up to the Donald whether he pushes the button or not. But yeah, this is where we at right now, guys. So, you know, there's some military operation planning going on, and it seems like Mexico is the next one here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Check out the videos I posted today. The link will be in the comments box. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Till next time later. Peace.